Right, we'll bring you more on that story from Samra Boy very soon. But right now, there is confusion at ECG as workers vow to resist plans by management to reverse recent staff promotions, making way for the reintegration of their colleagues who left the company to join the now defunct PDS. The workers were promoted to fill vacancies left by ECG staff who decided to join PDS during the takeover by the concessionaire in March. But government's decision to terminate the agreement means almost all workers inherited from the ECG will have to return to their original employer. JoyNews' editor Fred Smith is monitoring events at the ECG HQ. He joins us right now with an update. Now, Fred, tell me, what exactly is the mood at ECG this morning?
Well, for close to an hour, there was a hold-up. The workers were supposed to have a meeting with management, but there was a hold-up because some of the leadership of those who left ECG to PDS and are now returning were present at the meeting, and they did not want that to happen. And so they asked that they excuse them so that this meeting takes place. Now, the purpose for the meeting itself was to address rumors they've heard that management intends to reverse recent promotions they've given them. You know, when PDS took over ECG in March, vacancies were there that needed to be filled. So the ECG workers who did not move were those who applied for these vacancies, these positions, and subsequently got the job. Now, their colleagues who left to PDS are back and are asking for them to, you know, go back to their previous positions so they can take up the positions they held before the PDS deal, and there's huge disagreement over this.
So how is ECG's management justifying this decision to basically demote those they recently promoted?
Well, per the letter from government which cancelled the PDS concession, it said that we should assume that nothing happened. The concession did not happen at all. And so everything was reverting to previous positions post-March when the deal started. And so any other thing that has happened in the organization, if the workers were working at ECG before PDS came, they have to go back. The challenge here is somebody would have invested a lot of emotion, a lot of resources, time, family decisions to occupy a new position. They actually applied for it, and so you'd have gone to justify. It takes a lot to do this, and so asking them to step down from the new position to a younger one. I mean, many of us will hold parties and things to celebrate if we are promoted at work.
Indeed.
And so all of these things have happened already, and you want them to revert to their previous. How is that going to happen? They have to accept salary cuts. How are you going to manage that? And the ECG workers are saying no. And mind you, the difficulty for management here is that those who are returning are in excess of 6,000. Those who remained are a little over 100, say 120 thereabouts. So they are the ones who held the fort for ECG whilst their colleagues went exploring at PDS. And they're saying, no, if you've come back, start again.
Fantastic. Also, we probably have to consider what the labor law says, because there are various things that make it difficult for an employer to vary the conditions of an employee
to their disadvantage.
So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Is there any threat to bring in unions and so forth?
Well, the unions are very much involved. In fact, they are the ones leading this. In the morning, before 10 a.m., the unions had already met with their colleagues, the workers, and agreed on how they're going to approach management on this. And so during that meeting, I managed to, hear what was going on. The new managing director, he has been there for less than a week, and he's been baptized this way. He was coming in with the director of HR and other directors to join this meeting so they can address the problem. But they saw the tension and decided to return. So they went back to their offices and asked that the leadership of the unions meet with them. The leaders went for that meeting. After about 30 minutes, the workers held another meeting and said, well, they are uncomfortable with the delay. 30 minutes was too long for them, and so they appointed a 3-member delegation to visit that meeting to find out why they're keeping them waiting, because recall, they also have work to do. So work was at a standstill at ECG whilst all of these things were happening. So just after the first delegation had gone to the place, the managing director and the union leaders came down and the introduction was made. Before the MD could address the gathering, one member of staff rose and said, well, they disagree with the decision to allow their colleagues, their returnee colleagues, to join this meeting because because they do not trust them. They've lost any trust for them. This went on for close to an hour, and finally they were able to kick them out of the meeting, and the meeting happened. Now, the moment they left, the managing director took the microphone to address the gathering. A telephone call came in, and he had to answer. He had to pause his address to answer. And in answering, he immediately told them he'll have to leave immediately to attend to an emergency that he's been summoned to. We don't know who called, but I would imagine that's an authority up higher than him. Yes. So he left the meeting, and that's how come he wasn't present throughout the discussion. But the head of HR took them through explaining why this has become necessary, and the fact that in reversing the PDS deal, you're considering that everything is being erased, everybody's starting afresh, and they also have a responsibility to ensure that those who are coming in and those who remained are properly, put together so that there's harmony at ECG. And that's why we are where we are. There's serious disagreement as we speak, Kojo.
High drama at ECG this morning and afternoon. But did you get the chance to hear from any of the PDS returnees?
Well, they were not allowed to speak at all. And we are hoping that at least we will get to hear from them later on. But they were not allowed to say anything at this meeting. And the ECG workers were not blaming their returnee colleagues for anything. They feel that if they have such a demand, it's legitimate, but they do not think that they should suffer for it.
Fred, we don't want to miss a moment of this unfolding saga, so please stay with us, stay in touch so that we can continue to have an overview of what's happening at ECG. Fred Smith, editor here at Joy News. My goodness. When it rains, it pours.